Aaron's ship hummed softly as it drifted above the glowing surface of Zithera. From orbit, the planet looked like a jewel in the blackness of space. Forests sparkled with bioluminescent flora, and rivers reflected colors no human eyes had ever seen. The planet was alive, not just in the sense of life forms moving, but alive in energy, in pulses that resonated across every inch of its surface. Aaron had traveled far to reach this place, farther than he had ever dreamed. He had left the bustling colonies of Earth behind, the crowded cities, the noise, the endless chatter of humans who rarely looked beyond their own world. Here on Zithera, he hoped to find something different, a civilization untouched, a culture unknown, and a world that could teach him more than any human academy ever could. The landing was smooth. The ship's feet settled onto soft ground that shimmered under his boots, each step lighting up tiny streaks of color as if the planet itself was welcoming him. He unstrapped his helmet and stepped outside, breathing the thick, fragrant air. It was warm, sweet, and carried the faint tang of metal, a sign of the planet's mineral-rich soil. He could hear the soft hum of the world around him, almost like a heartbeat. He closed his eyes for a moment, letting it sink in, letting the feeling of being completely alien yet strangely at home settle inside him. He walked carefully through the luminous forest, noticing how every plant seemed to respond to his presence. Leaves turned slowly to follow him, flowers opened, revealing patterns that glowed and shifted. It was mesmerizing. He had studied this world from afar, through satellites and probes, but nothing prepared him for the reality, the feeling that the planet was watching him as much as he was watching it. Ahead, a clearing opened, and he froze. Standing in the center was the queen of the Zithurians. She was unlike anything he had seen before. Her body shimmered like the planet itself, translucent in parts, with veins of light flowing beneath her skin. Her eyes were vast and deep, reflecting not just light but thought, curiosity, and something else, an awareness that seemed to pierce straight through him. Around her, other Zithurians stood, their forms delicate and glowing softly, observing him with cautious interest. Aaron's heart raced. He had trained for this moment, but no amount of training could prepare him for the reality of meeting an intelligent, peaceful alien civilization face to face. He remembered the protocol drilled into him: show no fear, be respectful, and communicate clearly. Yet instinctively he felt he needed to go beyond words. The queen moved forward, her steps graceful, floating almost as if she were weightless. When she stopped a few meters away, she extended a hand toward him. Her touch, he knew, would not be ordinary. Zithurians communicated with more than words. Contact could carry emotions, intentions, even glimpses of memory. Aaron took a deep breath and slowly reached out his hand. The moment his fingers brushed against hers, he felt a subtle shift, a change in the air, a ripple through the hum of the planet. The queen's breath altered slightly, a soft, musical note that he could feel more than hear. It was not fear, not pain. It was an invitation, a signal that this contact was meaningful. "You're touching a sensitive spot, human," she said softly. Her voice resonated not just in the air but directly in his mind. Aaron realized that her words were layered with meaning. It was a warning, yes, but not hostile. It was a teaching moment, a chance to understand that even the smallest touch carried weight in their culture. Aaron nodded, careful not to make any sudden movements. He could feel the weight of her presence, the attention of every Zithurian around him. Yet there was no hostility, only curiosity, only the possibility of connection. Over the next hours, Aaron explored the clearing, learning from the queen in subtle ways. She did not speak in long sentences. Instead, she guided him, showing him gestures and responding to his movements. Every touch of a leaf, every interaction with a crystal node in the ground, every step he took was met with a reaction. The queen's subtle breath shifts, her soft nudges, and the faint glow of her body communicated more than any words could. He learned that Zithurians had lived in harmony with their planet for thousands of years. Their energy was intertwined with Zithera's, allowing them to sense environmental changes, predict storms, and even influence growth patterns in plants. Aaron felt humbled. Humans had conquered planets with machines and weapons, but the Zithurians thrived through understanding and empathy, through quiet observation and mutual care. By midday, the queen led him to a grove of crystalline trees. The trees were tall and fragile-looking, their branches bending but never breaking, covered in patterns of luminescent veins that pulsed in rhythm with the planet. She gestured to one tree, and he reached out to touch it. The moment his fingers brushed against the crystal surface, a rush of sensation ran through him, warmth, calm, and the faint echo of memories not his own. He saw flashes of Zithurians tending to their world, of children playing among these trees, of ceremonies celebrating the harmony of life. Aaron staggered slightly, overwhelmed. The queen placed her hand over his, steadying him. Her subtle breath shift was comforting, almost guiding him to focus. "Do not rush," she said in her soft, musical voice. "All is revealed in time." He nodded, taking in the lesson. Patience was a key part of this civilization. It was not enough to touch, to see, or to hear. One had to feel, to synchronize with the world, and to respect the rhythm of life here. Hours turned into what felt like days as Aaron practiced. The Zithurians observed him closely, some curious, others hesitant. A few even reached out, letting him touch their hands, their crystalline skin pulsing under his fingers. Each touch was a language, a story, a bond forming in silence. He realized humans could learn far more from these gentle interactions than from any textbook. As twilight fell, the glowing sky deepened into shades of violet and indigo, streaked with luminous clouds. Aaron and the queen sat near a crystal pond, the water reflecting the colors above. She demonstrated a slow, flowing movement with her hands, tracing patterns in the air. When he mirrored her movements, the water shimmered in response, showing him images of Zithra's past, ancient forests, the first Zithurians emerging, the moments that shaped their culture. "This world has survived because we listen," she said. "We feel, we do not take. We give, and in giving we grow stronger." Aaron nodded, understanding. Humans had technology, ambition, and knowledge, but the Zithurians had harmony, intuition, and a connection humans often lacked. Night fell and the grove was bathed in soft, pulsing light. Aaron slept under the trees, feeling the energy of Zithra flow through him. He dreamed not of machines or stars, but of connection, hands touching, breath shifting, lights pulsing. He felt a strange kinship with a species so different yet so similar in their desire to protect, to nurture, to understand. By the next morning, Aaron was ready to continue his exploration. The queen greeted him with the same subtle breath shift, a reminder that their bond had begun but was far from complete. He had learned patience, empathy, and the importance of understanding before acting. The planet and its people had welcomed him, not as a conqueror or outsider, but as someone willing to listen. As he followed the queen to a deeper part of the forest, he noticed faint structures hidden among the trees, small buildings that seemed to grow out of the natural environment, glowing softly, integrated into the living world. Each step revealed more of Zithra's secrets, more evidence that this was a civilization unlike any other. He felt excitement, not of conquest, but of discovery. He had traveled light years for this moment, and it was already more than he had imagined. There was so much to learn, so much to understand, and he was eager to do it in the way Zithurians valued most, with respect, patience, and a willingness to feel. The queen stopped at the edge of a small, crystalline bridge spanning a glowing river. She turned to him, her gaze soft but penetrating. "You have begun to understand," she said. "But understanding alone is not enough. To truly know Zithra, you must listen with more than ears and see with more than eyes. You must feel." Aaron nodded, feeling the weight of her words. This was no ordinary planet, no ordinary culture. Every touch, every breath, every glance carried meaning. Every step he took from now on would be a lesson, a test, and an opportunity. And he was ready. He reached out as he had before to touch the crystal bridge. As his fingers met its surface, the river shimmered, pulsing with light and color. It was as if the planet itself was responding to him, testing him, inviting him to become part of its story. Aaron felt a thrill unlike anything he had known in human cities or ships. Here on Zithra, he was not just a visitor. He was a participant, a learner, a bridge between two worlds. And as the queen's subtle breath shifted again, he realized that this was only the beginning. Zithra had much to teach, and he was determined to absorb every lesson, every subtle signal, every gentle touch that could bring him closer to understanding a civilization beyond human imagination. Aaron followed the queen deeper into the forest, each step illuminating faint. Trails of glowing moss beneath his feet. The deeper they went, the denser the trees became, yet nothing felt oppressive. The air was rich and sweet, filled with subtle fragrances he could not name. Every movement of a branch, every glimmer of light, seemed alive, as if the forest itself were observing him. The queen led him to a grove unlike any he had seen before. Here, crystalline trees rose higher, their branches interwoven like a protective canopy, and the ground was covered in soft, iridescent moss that seemed to hum under his weight. At the center of the grove stood a pool of water, perfectly still, reflecting the colors of the forest like a mirror. The queen gestured for him to kneel beside it. "You are ready to see more," she said. Her voice, melodic and calm, resonated in a way that made the air feel warmer. Aaron noticed again the subtle change in her breath, a delicate rise and fall that seemed to convey reassurance. He leaned closer to the pool and dipped his fingers into the cool, glowing water. Almost immediately, the surface shimmered and rippled, showing images that were not there before. He saw flashes of Zithuria's history, her people planting the first crystalline trees, nurturing the rivers, and building their homes in harmony with the land. Each vision felt like a memory, not his own, yet he could sense the emotion behind it, the pride, the care, and the deep love for their world. "You see," the queen said, "touching, observing, and feeling are all one. Our connection to Zithra is not learned through words, but through understanding the flow of life." She placed her hand gently on his shoulder. The light from her body pulsed subtly, and Aaron felt warmth and calm spread through him. He realized that her hand conveyed far more than a simple touch. It carried guidance, encouragement, and trust. Aaron spent hours by the pool, watching the visions shift and change as the queen guided him with gentle gestures. He learned that the Zithurians could sense the intentions of others, detect emotions through subtle shifts in body energy, and even communicate complex ideas without speaking. It was an entirely new form of understanding, one that required patience, empathy, and a willingness to truly listen with all senses. As they moved deeper into the grove, Aaron noticed small crystalline structures built into the landscape. They looked delicate, almost fragile, yet they radiated a sense of permanence and care. The queen explained that these structures were both homes and energy conduits, designed to interact with the natural pulses of the forest. Each building amplified and shared energy with the surrounding flora and fauna, creating harmony between the Zithurians and their environment. Aaron was fascinated. Humans had constructed cities, machines, and satellites, but everything here was alive in a way he had never experienced. Every action, no matter how small, affected the balance of life around it. He felt humbled, realizing that his own people often destroyed environments without understanding their interconnectedness. They came upon a group of Zithurian children, delicate beings, with the same glowing, translucent features as the adults. They were playing among the trees, their laughter producing musical notes that resonated in the air. The queen encouraged Aaron to approach them. At first, he hesitated, unsure how his human presence might affect them, but the children's curiosity overcame his caution. When he reached out his hand, a child touched his fingers lightly. Instantly, Aaron felt a wave of joy and excitement, not his own, but shared through the child's connection. He laughed softly, amazed at the power of a simple touch. The queen observed with a gentle smile, noting the subtle rise and fall of her breath. It was approval, a recognition that he was learning the Zithurian way of connection. The day passed in a series of small lessons. Aaron learned to sense the rhythms of the forest, to feel when plants were thirsty, when the soil was rich or depleted, and when the energy of the air shifted. He realized that the Zithurians did not merely live on the planet, they were an extension of it. Their understanding of life was holistic, blending the physical, emotional, and environmental into one seamless flow. As evening approached, the queen led him to a platform made of crystalline vines that overlooked a valley. The sky had turned deep blue, streaked with colors he had never imagined. Stars shone brighter than anywhere on Earth, each one reflecting faintly in the crystals beneath their feet. Aaron felt a sense of peace unlike anything he had experienced. It was not just beauty, it was understanding. He was beginning to feel part of something greater than himself. "You have learned much," the queen said. Her voice was calm, but the subtle shifts in her breathing carried meaning beyond her words. "But there is more to learn. You must understand not only our ways, but how your presence here changes the flow of our world." Aaron nodded, realizing that even his curiosity, his touch, and his presence had effects on Zithuria. He understood that being a visitor meant responsibility. To truly connect with this civilization, he could not just observe. He had to act with care, empathy, and patience. The queen then guided him to a chamber within the crystalline structure that served as a learning space. Inside, the walls pulsed softly with energy, displaying patterns that moved in response to their presence. She gestured for him to place his hands on a crystal panel. When he did, the patterns shifted, forming shapes, colors, and motions that communicated information without a single word being spoken. Aaron watched in awe as the crystal displayed Zithurian life cycles, energy flows, and histories. He could feel the wisdom embedded in the shapes, as if the planet itself were teaching him through the Queen's guidance. His mind raced to comprehend the depth of their knowledge, but he did not feel overwhelmed. Instead, he felt inspired, grateful to witness a civilization that thrived not through force but through understanding and harmony. Days turned into cycles of learning. Aaron practiced touching crystals, interacting with Zithurians, and moving with the rhythm of the forest. He learned to recognize the subtle cues in the Queen's breath, the shifts in light, and the responses of the environment. Each moment taught him patience and attentiveness, lessons that would have taken a lifetime to learn on Earth. One morning, while walking through a glade bathed in golden light, Aaron felt an unusual disturbance. The hum of the forest seemed off, the plants responded with slight tension, and the water shimmered with an unusual pattern. The Queen noticed his pause and gently took his hand. Her touch reassured him, and her subtle breath shift indicated awareness. "Do you feel it?" she asked. "Yes," Aaron replied. "Something is changing," the Queen nodded. "Zithra communicates constantly. The planet senses all, even the smallest disturbances. You must learn to listen carefully, to feel the subtle movements of life around you." She guided him to a cluster of crystal nodes at the base of an ancient tree. These nodes acted like sensors, amplifying and balancing the flow of energy in the surrounding forest. The Queen placed her hand over Aaron's, guiding his fingers to the correct positions. As they connected with the nodes, Aaron felt a surge of energy, a rush of understanding that connected him not only to the Queen but to the entire grove. Images and sensations flowed into him: how Zithurians healed injured plants, how they nurtured young creatures, and how the planet itself responded to their care. He realized that the disturbances he felt were minor imbalances, natural events that could be corrected with careful attention. Together, he and the Queen restored the flow, feeling a sense of accomplishment and shared connection. Over the next days, Aaron continued to explore these subtle interactions. He learned that the Zithurians' world thrived because they valued patience, observation, and empathy above all else. Each day was a lesson, each touch a story, and each breath a signal. Through this, Aaron began to see a new path for humanity, a way to approach the universe not with domination, but with understanding, respect, and harmony. One evening, as the twin moons rose above the forest, casting silver light across the crystalline trees, Aaron reflected on how far he had come. He had arrived as a visitor, curious but cautious. Now he felt part of something larger. The Queen's subtle guidance had taught him to see, feel, and connect in ways he had never imagined. He understood that his mission was no longer simply about exploration or knowledge. It was about forming bonds, learning empathy, and sharing understanding across worlds. And as he looked at the Queen, standing gracefully amidst the glowing trees, he noticed once again that subtle shift in her breath, the quiet acknowledgement of progress, trust, and partnership. It was a reminder that understanding was a journey, one that required patience, attention, and care. Aaron felt ready to continue that journey, eager to discover the deeper mysteries of Zithra, and to see how humanity might rise by learning from worlds that thrived not through force, but through harmony. Aaron woke to a sky that pulsed with colors he had never seen before. The twin suns of Zithra had not yet risen, but the horizon glowed in shades of violet and gold, reflecting off the crystalline trees and shimmering moss. The forest seemed alive with anticipation, the air humming softly under his feet. He stretched, feeling the subtle rhythm of the planet flowing through him, a gentle pulse that reminded him he was no longer just a visitor. He was part of the world. The Queen appeared beside him, moving with her usual grace. Her luminous form seemed brighter than usual, her subtle breath shifts more noticeable. "There is something you must see," she said. Aaron followed her silently, sensing the importance of her words. They walked through the forest in a quiet harmony, Aaron's steps mirroring hers, every movement measured and deliberate. The deeper they went, the more he noticed unusual patterns in the light. The bioluminescent plants were flickering irregularly, and the humming rhythm of the forest had changed. A sense of unease settled over him, but it was not fear, it was awareness. Zithra was signaling him to pay attention. When they reached a large clearing, the cause of the disturbance became clear. A solar surge from Zithra's star system was approaching. Unlike storms on Earth, this one carried waves of energy that could disrupt the delicate balance of the planet's life systems. The crystalline trees trembled slightly, rivers shimmered with unstable colors, and the ground beneath them pulsed rapidly. Aaron's heart quickened. He had read about solar surges, but he had never seen one so powerful and immediate. The queen placed her hand on his shoulder, her touch steadying him. Her subtle breath shift conveyed calm determination. "The balance of the forest is in danger," she said. "We must act carefully. Every action you take will ripple across Zithra." Aaron nodded. He understood that brute force would not work here. The Zithurians had survived for thousands of years because they acted with precision, empathy, and understanding. He had learned much in his time with them, but this was a test of everything he had absorbed. The queen guided him to a series of crystalline nodes at the base of a massive tree. These nodes were part of Zithra's natural energy network, designed to absorb, balance, and redistribute power throughout the planet. The queen demonstrated a sequence of hand movements, a silent language that communicated the flow of energy, the adjustments needed, and the timing of each action. Aaron mimicked her gestures carefully, feeling the subtle pulses beneath his fingertips. As they worked together, he began to sense the energy in a new way. It was not abstract or mathematical. It was alive, almost sentient. He could feel how the trees responded to the adjustments, how the river's pulse steadied, and how the ground beneath them regained its rhythm. The queen's hand hovered over his, guiding him without taking control, allowing him to learn through touch, through rhythm, through empathy. Despite their careful work, the solar surge intensified. Waves of energy crashed through the forest, and Aaron felt the hum of life shift erratically. The nodes responded, but some areas resisted adjustment. He realized that even with the queen's guidance, his understanding was incomplete. For a moment, doubt flickered in his mind. Could a human so far removed from this planet truly help save it? The queen sensed his hesitation. She reached out, placing her hand firmly over his. Her breath shifted, a gentle yet insistent signal of encouragement. "Trust yourself," she said. "Feel Zithra not just with your hands, but with your heart. Every connection matters." Aaron closed his eyes and focused. He imagined the forest as a living network, every tree, river, and crystal node linked together. He let the energy flow through him, not as an observer but as a participant. Slowly, he adjusted the nodes in sync with the planet's pulse, letting intuition guide his hands where logic could not. The effect was immediate. The irregular flickers of light stabilized, rivers glowed evenly again, and the tremor beneath his feet softened. Zithra's rhythm was returning. The queen's subtle breathing indicated approval, her gentle nod reinforcing his confidence. For the first time, Aaron felt not like a visitor, but a guardian, a partner in the survival of an entire world. As they worked through the surge, Aaron noticed small creatures moving through the forest, tiny, delicate beings that relied on the energy flows he was helping to stabilize. They paused near the nodes, sensing the return of harmony, their movements reflecting relief. It was a reminder that even the smallest lives depended on careful balance, on attention, and on understanding. Hours passed in this delicate dance. Aaron and the queen moved from node to node, their hands brushing occasionally in shared focus. Each touch carried trust, instruction, and encouragement. Through this collaboration, Aaron felt a bond forming, not just with the queen, but with Zithra itself. The planet was alive, and he was part of its story. Finally, the solar surge passed. The forest's hum returned to its steady rhythm, rivers glowed with gentle luminescence, and the crystalline trees shone as if nothing had disturbed them. Aaron exhaled deeply, a mixture of relief and awe filling him. He had faced a challenge far beyond anything he had imagined, yet he had succeeded not through force, but through connection, empathy, and understanding. The queen turned to him, her eyes reflecting the soft light of the forest. "You have done well," she said. Her subtle breath shifts conveyed admiration and gratitude. "You have not only assisted in preserving Zithra, but you have shown that humans can act with care, intelligence, and empathy. You are more than an observer, you are a partner." Aaron felt a surge of pride, tempered with humility. He realized that his species often relied on force or technology to solve problems, but here, on Zithera, a different path had shown him a new form of strength. It was a quiet, powerful force, the ability to understand, to feel, and to act in harmony with others. The queen led him to a high vantage point overlooking the forest. From there, Aaron could see the extent of the recovery. Crystalline trees shimmered, rivers reflected the stars, and the gentle hum of life resonated across the landscape. The solar surge had been a test, and Zithera had survived because of careful, collaborative effort. "You have learned quickly," the queen said, her voice soft but firm. "But Zithera has more to teach. You must understand that our challenges are not always obvious. Sometimes the smallest disturbances can have the greatest effects." Aaron nodded, absorbing her words. He understood that his journey was only beginning. The planet had revealed its strength, its fragility, and its beauty. He had learned that true wisdom required patience, observation, and the ability to feel beyond oneself. Over the following days, Aaron continued to explore Zithera, guided by the queen. He practiced reading the subtle cues in the environment, how the light shifted in response to energy flows, how plants and animals reacted to movement, and how the queen's gentle breath signaled instruction, caution, or encouragement. Each lesson deepened his understanding of the Zithurian way of life and strengthened his bond with the planet. He also began to notice how the Zithurians interacted with each other. Their communication was fluid and graceful, blending subtle touch, shared energy, and melodic tones that resonated in the mind rather than the ears. He marveled at how conflicts were rare, resolved through understanding rather than force, and how every individual contributed to the well-being of the whole. It was a civilization built on empathy, trust, and connection. One afternoon, while exploring a riverbank, Aaron noticed a small patch of moss that pulsed irregularly. He bent down and touched it, feeling a subtle disruption in the energy flow. The queen appeared beside him, her hand on his shoulder. She guided him to connect with the moss, showing him how to realign its energy with the surrounding environment. As he worked, he realized that every action, no matter how small, could ripple outward, affecting countless lives and the harmony of the planet itself. "You see now," the queen said, her voice calm and steady, "that understanding requires more than observation. It requires participation, attention, and care. You have learned to feel, and that is the beginning of wisdom." Aaron smiled, feeling the truth of her words. Humans had long relied on observation and analysis, but here, on Zithera, he had learned the value of connection, empathy, and subtle action. It was a lesson that could change not only his own life, but potentially the way his species approached the universe. As night fell, the twin moons rose above the forest, casting silver light across the crystalline trees. Aaron sat with the queen, watching the stars shimmer in the reflective waters of the rivers. He felt a deep sense of peace, but also excitement. The solar surge had tested him, showing the fragility and resilience of Zithera, and he knew that even greater challenges might await. Yet, for the first time in his life, Aaron did not feel fear. He felt prepared. He had learned to listen, to feel, and to act in harmony with a world far beyond his own. And he had learned that humans, despite their flaws, could rise to meet challenges not with domination, but with understanding, care, and empathy. The queen's subtle breath shifted again, a sign of encouragement, and Aaron realized that he had earned a place in the rhythm of Zithera, however small. He was no longer just a visitor. He was a participant, a learner, and perhaps, in time, a teacher of what he had learned here to others. As he closed his eyes that night, listening to the gentle pulse of the forest, Aaron felt a renewed determination. He would continue to explore, learn, and connect. Zithera had shown him a new way of being, one that relied not on force or knowledge alone, but on understanding, empathy, and the quiet power of connection. And he knew, without a doubt, that the greatest challenges of all would not be fought with weapons or machines, but with patience, care, and the courage to truly feel. The days that followed the solar surge were calm, yet Aaron could feel the subtle hum of Zithera changing around him. The forest seemed to breathe more freely, the rivers flowed smoothly, and the crystalline trees glimmered with renewed life. It was as if the planet itself was acknowledging his presence, embracing him as a participant in its ongoing story. The queen appeared beside him one morning, her glow brighter than usual, and her subtle breath shift carried a sense of anticipation. "Today," she said softly, you will see the heart of Zithra. Aaron's curiosity was immediate. He had explored forests, learned to sense energy flows, and even guided the planet through the solar surge. But the Queen's words hinted at something deeper, something that had yet to reveal itself. She led him to a valley at the edge of the forest, where the ground sloped gently toward a massive crystalline formation. The structure rose like a cathedral of light, each surface refracting the soft glow of the planet into thousands of colors. Aaron had never seen anything so magnificent. Even the Queen paused for a moment, letting the brilliance of the formation fill the space between them. "This," she said, placing her hand gently on his arm, "is Zithra's heart. Here the energy of the planet concentrates, connecting every living thing, every river, every tree, and every Zithurian." Her subtle breath shifts carried meaning he was now attuned to: reverence, pride, and a quiet invitation to understand. Aaron approached cautiously. As he stepped onto the crystal floor, he felt the hum of Zithra intensify beneath his feet. It was not just vibration or energy, it was consciousness, a living, sensing awareness that welcomed him but demanded respect. He knelt and placed his hands on the central crystal. Light pulsed through him, carrying sensations of the planet's memories, its joys, its struggles, and its triumphs. The Queen joined him, placing her hand over his. Through her touch, he felt the Zithurians' history, their ancestors shaping the forests, their care for the creatures that lived there, their celebrations of harmony, and their quiet moments of reflection beneath the twin moons. Each pulse of energy brought a story, and he understood that Zithra was not just a world, they were its stewards, its heartbeat, its soul. "You have come far," the Queen said. "You have touched Zithra not with force but with understanding. That is why you are here now. To learn the deepest truth of our world." Aaron closed his eyes and let the energy flow through him. He felt the life of every plant, every creature, every Zithurian, and even the water and soil. He understood in that moment that Zithra was more than a planet. It was a living network of connections, a harmony of countless lives working together. And for the first time, he realized that humans could be part of such harmony, not as conquerors, but as collaborators. The Queen guided him to stand, and together they raised their hands over the central crystal. Light swirled around them, pulsing in rhythm with their energy, creating patterns that danced across the walls of the valley. Aaron could feel Zithra responding to their combined presence, stabilizing further, as if it recognized his commitment to understanding and care. "You have learned empathy, patience, and attentiveness," the Queen said, "but the final lesson is balance. To truly serve, one must act with both heart and mind. You have already proven your heart. Now trust your mind as well." Aaron focused on the crystal nodes surrounding them. He felt the subtle imbalances caused by the solar surge lingering faintly, almost imperceptible. Carefully, he adjusted the flow, integrating the rhythms of Zithra with the guidance he had received from the Queen. The energy pulsed evenly now, resonating through the valley, through the forest, and throughout the planet. The light reached a brilliant apex and then settled into a gentle glow, steady and calm. The Queen's hand left his, and she took a step back, observing him. Her breath shifted subtly, a gesture of approval and pride. "You have done it," she said softly. "You have connected with Zithra in a way few ever could." Aaron smiled, humbled. He had not only survived a solar surge, but he had helped the planet itself heal and stabilize. More than that, he had learned something profound about himself, about humanity, and about the potential for connection across worlds. Over the next days, Aaron explored the valley, learning the rhythms of Zithra's heart. He discovered small creatures that lived exclusively in the crystalline formations, their movements synchronized with the pulsing energy. He learned to interact with them carefully, feeling their trust as he touched lightly, just as he had learned with the children and the trees. Each small act of care had a ripple effect, reinforcing the lesson that every action mattered. The Queen guided him to the other Zithurians in the valley. They formed a circle around the central crystal, their bodies glowing softly. Aaron joined them, placing his hands near theirs, feeling their energy merge with his. Together, they created a network of harmony, each pulse connecting to the next, each breath adjusting the flow, each touch reinforcing trust. It was a moment of unity unlike anything he had ever experienced, a living demonstration of cooperation, empathy, and shared purpose. As they stood together, Aaron realized that the Zithurians' greatest strength was not their technology, nor their longevity. nor even their physical abilities. It was their ability to connect deeply, to feel and understand, to work together without the need for control or force. Humans, he thought, could learn much from this. Empathy and careful action were as powerful as any invention, perhaps even more so. The Queen spoke again, her voice resonating softly in the shared consciousness. You have learned to feel Zithra, human. But remember this, understanding without action is not enough. You must take what you have learned and carry it forward. You have the potential to guide, to teach, and to inspire. Aaron felt the weight of her words. He realized that his journey did not end here on Zithra. He had discovered not only the world, but a new way of thinking, a new way of being. Humanity, he knew, could rise not through domination or conquest, but through empathy, understanding, and cooperation. The days passed quickly, filled with lessons, exploration, and quiet reflection. Aaron learned to anticipate the subtle changes in the environment, to feel the needs of the creatures, and to harmonize with the Zithurians' practices. He also began documenting his observations, careful to record the principles of connection, empathy, and balance in ways that could be shared with others without harming Zithra. One evening, as the twin moons rose, the Queen led him to a hill overlooking the valley. The forest below shimmered with life, rivers reflecting the moonlight and crystalline trees glowing softly in harmonious rhythm. Aaron felt a profound sense of belonging, as if he were no longer an outsider but a part of this living world. "You have grown," the Queen said. Her voice was calm, yet her subtle breath shifts conveyed deep respect. "Not as a conqueror or a visitor, but as a guardian. You have shown that humans can rise to greatness not through force, but through understanding, care, and connection." Aaron looked at the valley, at the glowing Zithurians, and at the heart of the planet itself. He realized that he had been changed as much as he had changed Zithra. His mind was clearer, his heart more attuned, and his spirit aligned with a higher purpose. Humanity, he knew, had the potential to achieve the same. Not by taking, but by giving, not by breaking, but by nurturing, and not by seeking control, but by understanding. The Queen extended her hand. Aaron took it, and for a long moment they stood together, hands touching, breath synchronizing subtly in a silent acknowledgement of all that had passed. He could feel the trust, the lessons learned, and the hope that stretched beyond Zithra into the stars. "You have completed the first stage of your journey," she said. "But every ending is a beginning. Take this knowledge and let it guide you and your people. Remember Zithra and remember that the greatest power lies in empathy and connection." Aaron nodded, feeling tears rise, not from sadness but from the overwhelming beauty of the lesson. He had arrived on Zithra seeking knowledge, but he had gained understanding, purpose, and a vision for humanity's potential. He had touched the world gently, learned its rhythm, and been welcomed into its heart. The days that followed were filled with preparation. Aaron learned the subtle ways Zithurians communicated energy across distances, the methods to maintain balance in small and large systems, and the rituals that reinforced harmony between all living beings. He felt ready to return to humanity, carrying lessons that could change the way his species interacted with the universe. Finally, the time came for him to depart. The Queen walked with him to the edge of the crystalline forest. She looked at him, her expression calm and radiant. "You leave as a student, but also as a teacher. Remember what you have learned here. Let it guide your people so that humans may rise not through force, but through understanding." Aaron bowed, deeply humbled. He had never imagined that a human could achieve such understanding with an alien world, yet he now knew that it was possible. Not through weapons, not through technology, but through patience, empathy, and connection. As he boarded his ship, he glanced back one last time. The forest glowed softly, rivers reflected the twin moons, and the central crystalline heart pulsed gently, steady and calm. Zithra had embraced him, and he would carry its lessons across the stars. As the ship lifted off, Aaron felt a renewed sense of purpose. Humanity had potential beyond imagination, but only if it embraced the values he had learned: empathy, patience, cooperation, and care for life in all its forms. Zithra had shown him the way, and he would ensure that the knowledge was not forgotten. The planet shrank beneath him, glowing softly like a jewel, and Aaron knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had the capacity to rise, not as conquerors, but as collaborators, guardians, and friends of life across the universe. He had seen what was possible when understanding guided action, and he would never forget the lessons etched into his heart by the Queen and the living world of Zithra. As the stars stretched before him, endless and inviting, Aaron felt hope, courage, and determination. He had touched Zithara, and Zithara had touched him. Together they had shown that humans could rise, not through power but through empathy. And in that understanding, Aaron knew the future was bright.